Hi, I'm Kim, and welcome to my mid year reading freakout tag. The last time I've done this was literally last year. I apologize, I didn't even do it end of the year for 2025, but it's okay. I can promise you that I definitely read books last year. I just didn't, I was too busy to film. I was too busy to film. I'm still too busy to film right now, but I've been kind of itching. I kind of wanted to share the books that I've been reading recently. So let's begin. All the questions I'm going to answer are going to be down below in the description and the link to the channel that I found the questions from. On top of that, I'm going to modify these questions a little bit because I really want to highlight as much books as possible with these questions. And so I'm going to just tweak them a little bit if you do not mind. If you see that I'm looking down a lot, it's because I have my iPad on me. So that's where most of my information is going to come from. So, first question: how has your reading year gone so far? So, according to my Excel sheet, I have read 29 books so far this year, which is crazy. It is crazy. Primarily because I just started reading novels last year and I was really afraid that it was also around the time I created a booktube channel. The people online, y'all on YouTube booktube really make it fun to read. And on top of that, Instagram, because I am on Instagram more, y'all make it fun to read. And so I tried it out, and at the same time I did YouTube, I was worried for a little bit that I was only going to read because I was making content for it. And I was happy that I think I read like 36 books last year and barely made any videos regardless. So I was happy to know that I continued reading regardless of making content or not. So I actually made it a habit to read. So I was pretty happy. In terms of the quality of books I've been reading, so far, I've been doing a pretty good job curating my collection. I've been doing a pretty good job choosing the books I know I'm going to enjoy or like or that I want to take a chance on. Very few, extremely very few that I've actually like disliked my reading experience with, especially the books that I like paid with my own money. Especially the books I paid with my own money. I'm glad I'm like enjoying them so far. I'm also reading books that are a little bit challenging for me that I have to look up vocabulary terms for. So that's a new one for this year. Or even looking up the reference text in order to understand it better or to have a better reading experience if I knew that prior. So I've been doing that a lot this year. I've just been challenging myself, and I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy. I'm not trying to get too comfortable with the books that I know for a fact I'm going to enjoy. I enjoy reading all different types of genres. But according to my stats, 44% was fantasy, 29% of it was horror, and then just an 11% for science fiction. I'm very shocked that literary fiction is my smallest one, considering how many books I think I own more literary fiction, contemporary fiction type books, way over fantasy, even though I'm a huge fantasy reader. It's just fantasy, sci-fi, and dystopian is like where my heart is at. Overall, reading experience, great. Great, great, great. Okay, next question. What is the best book you've read so far in 2026? I have 3 to share with you. By far, this is my first 6-star read of the year. And I fear that this book might take the number 1 spot for the year as a whole. We'll see. I have a lot of books lined up that could potentially replace this one, but I think an overall experience to the book and in regards to the movie, I will say I'm very, very happy that I went into this book very blind, okay? Like completely blind. All I knew is that it was a good book according to the people, and I did not seek to know anything more. I did not reread the synopsis from when I bought it, and things that were considered a surprise to me personally, once the movie came out, it was actually part of the promo. It was one, it was in the trailer before even like hella promo was out. It was in the trailer. A big like surprise reveal to me. And then of course when the movie came out, everyone were posting clips and whatnot. And then also the author himself said it wasn't a spoiler because that's majority of the book. Like he himself admit, like that's not a spoiler, y'all. It's part of like it's a big chunk of the book. It's the reason for the book, right? As someone like myself who prefers to know very little about things, I was very happy when I read it. I enjoyed the humor. I already knew that Ryan Gosling was going to play the role, so I kind of read the book in his voice, if that makes any sense. Like I imagined him already as my main character, and I thought it fit perfectly for the humor. I know some discourse, I know some people said like, oh, they could have picked a different actor. In my head he was perfect. So it was already like a win-win for me. I was like a little bit screaming because, well, one, if you don't know, I'm also one of the science majors, but not just any science, okay? I'm literally his exact major. Who Grace is, what he studied, that is my major as well. I'm studying molecular biology in concentration to micro, okay? This book is heavy with the science, but as you can tell from a lot of reviews from other people, because like a huge broad spectrum of people read this book, you can pass through, like you're able to just like listen along or read along and then like get straight into the story parts if you did not enjoy the science parts at all. I was a huge fan for it. I'm not a physics major. I don't know a lot of physics, so besides the physics aspect of it, I enjoyed the rest. I like how he took concepts that we have in biology, or they're not even concepts, they're just facts. The facts of what we know and how life began and how he took those concepts and put it into the story. Will admit there are some aspects of the story that was a little too convenient. I will say that. All right, I will admit that. Overall, enjoyed. The movie was great. I was crying. I was crying in the book. I was reading this book while listening to the Interstellar soundtrack, so it was just a full experience. And then shortly after, I watched the movie and I was crying. I thought I wouldn't cry as much because they did have to speed up some parts. In the beginning of the book, it takes Grace a while to get himself together. In the movie, that's a very quick montage. Very quick montage. And I get it. I get it. Even the author himself and the director, they're like, yeah, we had to cut even their favorite parts. And I understand. I understand. Overall, this was my top best book so far. Two other books I wanted to mention that were like top so far this year. I'm doing like a reading vlog for the Hunger Games. Y'all, I already knew what was going to happen because I watched the movie as a kid growing up when it was still in theaters. Okay, when the first movie was still in theaters, that was the last time I've watched the Hunger Games and just remember about the Hunger Games. I know the memes and everything that kept it alive. I, for whatever reason, did not continue the rest of the movies, but I wanted to read the books because the last book that came out, I think, was it last year? Was it last year the last book came out, or was it beginning of this year? I'm already mixing up our timelines. But the last book, the movie adaptation, is coming out in the fall. And so I want to read all of them before, well, while I still have the chance, okay? Because it's so magical. I'm a huge movie nerd. I enjoy watching movies in the cinema. It gives off a very different experience versus watching at home for some movies. And we only do that for very certain movies too. I want to do it for the Hunger Games. I want to read the book before the movie, before it's my last chance to do it in the movie theaters. Hunger Games, Hunger Games. The book that other dystopian books would put in their blurb saying like, well, if you like the Hunger Games, you're going to like this book. All right, The Hunger Games. 5 stars. Easy. It was good. It was easy. It was a very easy read is what I'm trying to say. It was fast, and I don't know how she does it, but in very few words and very straight to the point, she's able to tell you exactly what's going on in our characters' heads and the situation that they're in, while also like conveying emotion. By no means, this is not flowery writing. All right, this is not flowery at all. It's very straight to the point. To me, what I'm not a huge like English major, so I don't know too much of the difference between writing styles, but I have read books that are much prettier, and this one's more straight to the point to me, and I'm still crying. Like the moment they even mentioned my favorite character, Rue, I already started crying because I remember the scene in the movie. Anyways, sorry if I'm not like summarizing these major books. I just want to talk about my feelings. I read this in like 3 days. So quick. Project Hail Mary, I read that in 2 days. And another top book. If you don't know me, I'm a huge anthology short story. I just love reading those books. I want to highlight one because this one was great, and I think it's also the one I finished. I'm in between two other, one anthology and another short story one, and so I can't say for sure this is the top book of the year, but so far for mid-year freak out time, I want to highlight the anthology Out There Screaming, edited by Jordan Peele, an anthology of new black horror. Y'all, I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it a lot of the short stories. I knew it was going to be centered around black horror. One, let me just say, I enjoy reading anthologies because you get to know multiple authors in a short amount of time. So there is an author that I first got exposed to due to anthologies, and there is a book called Never Whistle at Night. It's like indigenous stories. She's in there. And she's also in here called Eye and Tooth. And oh my gosh, given that I have her actual full length series novel of whatever Black Star is called, I'll put it up if I remember. I loved her writing. I loved her writing even in short story format. So it just makes me more excited. Other authors here that I gave 5 out of 5 stars or even 4 out of 5 stars, now I know to look up their backlog to read other works. It's like a quick way to expand your horizons with other authors, in my opinion. But besides the exposure to other authors, I was surprised the type of stories we were getting in here. You know, like we were getting all genres. We were getting all sorts of genres in here. We got sci-fi, we got a fantasy, we got a horror, of course horror because it's black horror, right? We got literary fiction. The horror in the literary fiction one, subtle. Definitely when you just finish a story that's just batshit crazy, and then you go into the next story is like something so nice. Something so just like, oh. It's, I don't know. I had a great time. This one takes me longer. Normally when I read short stories and anthologies, they take me longer because I do not binge these, okay? To me, these are like sweet stories that you read like one story a night, and then like if you want to read the next day, you just come back to it. I don't enjoy, I think I tried it with this book, reading multiple stories in one day, and I did not enjoy my experience that way. It's not of the story itself, it's just because you know, these are short. These are short, and I like to linger in some of the stories that pique my imagination to know what happens next in terms of like what if, depending how the story ends. And yeah, this one probably took me like a month or maybe even 2 months to finish because there's a crap ton of stories in here. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight another book that I enjoyed this year. Okay, next question. What is the best sequel you've read so far in 2026? So I didn't really read too many sequels, so I only had like a little bit of choice. I only had 2 choices, honestly. One that's technically a sequel and that I stopped at was The Cage of Dark Hours, the Five Penalties trilogy by Marina Lostetter. And because this is the second book in the series, I don't want to say too much, though you may all have heard from this author from, it used to trend for a little bit actually, even when I started on BookTube, but it was The Helm of Midnight. We all probably have recognized this cover. So in the first book, we follow a regulator named Corona, and you're set in a country, but only like a sliver portion of a country, surrounded by these magical borders. And the people of the country have this relationship with 5 specific gods. Or is it 6? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's been a minute. Is 6 the unknown? Anyways, they have a relationship with these gods that they have to abide the rules with, and how the land came to be, and this whole worship of why they're safe now as long as they follow the rules. And our main character, or I call her a main character, we actually have multiple POVs. She works with the system, and she's one of my favorite characters because of how smart she is, and like with her common sense and knowledge and stuff. She's older. She's also an older character. On top of that, her description reminds me of me. I can't help but put myself in books. I can't help it. But when you say someone has brown skin and braids, you know, I'm just like, well, she has darker skin than me according to the book. But you know, I'm just a sucker. You're like, oh my gosh, you're telling me my main character is also a woman of complexion and she's smart? But anyway, sorry. It's essentially a murder mystery in the first book. You can actually read the first book by itself without reading the second book, but a murder mystery does happen and she's off to trying to solve it. But at the same time, in the background, you're getting all the pretty much the political intrigue of it all. You're getting all the problems with the system, and on top of that, the beliefs, right? The problems of what the people believe is also corrupt in a way. I don't know. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give too much away. But one thing to note within this magical system, there are masks. And with these masks, when a person dies, they can have a mask commissioned for them, and they put their whole soul and who they are as a person, like memories, into, I guess, I don't even know if I should say soul. It's your memories of your whole life into that mask, including your skills. Let's say if you performed autopsy for a living, right? If you died and then you commissioned for a mask to be created for you, your memories of knowing how to perform an autopsy is so valuable for other people to use. So if someone put on that mask, they also will now know how to perform an autopsy. The catch here, though, is that your personality also gets transferred into the mask. So let's say you're very aggressive or you get very irritable very easy, that also gets transferred into the mask. And in a sense, the mask also wants to take over you. Imagine okay, I'm thinking of the Green Mask. I'm not sure if that's what it's called by that one actor. Let me pull it up. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking, I can't help but think this might be an older movie. I don't think that everyone knows this if you're young, but it's The Mask by Jim Carrey. Okay, imagine that. Or don't. I don't want your opinion to be. I don't want to. It's been so long since I've seen that movie, so like maybe don't too much. Just the action of putting the mask on and become a different person. Okay, just think of that. Okay, you have to learn how to suppress that spirit in order to use the mask. I know I'm highlighting the mask so much, but it's what makes this story to me interesting. It's that magic system and the politics. The politics make it very interesting too. Overall, the first book was great. With the second book, it gets ramped up a lot more. And we start a new murder mystery. And a little bit of what happens in the first book kind of leaks over to the second book. But we also get one of the biggest changes. We get a completely new POV that takes up like half the book. I kind of like the second book a lot more because there's a little bit of romance, which is a shock, complete shock for me to say and admit that I actually liked the romance in book 2. I'm a little bit afraid because when I looked up very briefly reviews for the third book, which is the last book, a lot of people didn't like it. But my opinion versus Goodreads opinions are not the same. So I hope, I'm scared. That's why I've been pushing off the third book for so long. I'm scared, but I feel like I'm still going to enjoy. It's just how this book ended was it felt like we're going the horror route, and I don't mind that. I don't mind us going the horror route, okay? If it's gonna get a little spooky from here on out, if it's gonna get a little disturbing from here on out, I kind of had a little bit of taste towards the end of the book, and I was like, okay, if we're gonna go there, we're going there for the third book. Another book that I want to highlight, not technically a sequel, but because this series is out of 11 books, so give it a little bit of grace, okay? I want to choose this because I've been on a full journey on all their novellas, and it is Wayward Children by Sheena Maguire. And the book I want to highlight specifically is book number 4. Book number 4 was the one I gave like 5 stars so far out of, I think I'm only up to book 7. I don't own this series. I got them all from the library. If you don't know the Wayward Children series, we have odd numbers and even numbers. Odd numbers is a continuation of the story from book 1. So wherever we left off in book 1, book 3 will continue from there on out. Even numbers, we separate into the children's backstory or the adult's backstory, whoever the author wants to highlight. But number 4 is called In an Absent Dream. To get a general gist of what this story is that we follow these wayward children. There is a woman named Eleanor, and she is the head of this school for wayward children. These children that get admitted to this school are children that no longer have a place to be, either that they were abandoned by their parents, like their parents dropped them off with no intention to pick them up anymore, or something happened to their parents and now they literally do not have a home to come back to some parents do want their children back. They just sent them to that school to quote unquote fix them. So these children are very special, and special in a way where they just don't fit in with what you consider normal society to be. And so you can only imagine like the amount of things and topics that we're going to talk about and cover. And it's written in a way where at first you're going to be like, damn, kids do not talk like this. You're telling me a 10-year-old talks like this? To me, that's not the point. It's not. This is a creative way in order to explain these type of themes. It's a writing I've never read from before. And once you read the first book, if you understand how that's written, all the rest of the books are exactly the same in terms of like, expect that writing style, expect that storytelling. I cannot stress that enough. I didn't realize there was going to be so much more magical realism in it, but there's a good chunk. It's fantasy, but it ties back in so much to the real world. That's why, because the kids, they're trying to get away from where they did not belong in the first place, which was their quote unquote home. A magical part with through all this is that these children, you get to know their backgrounds and why they don't feel like they belong at home, like why they don't feel like home is home to them. And then a door will appear, a magical door will appear. And on that door, it's going to take different forms depending where you are. There is a question. And the question is, be sure. And I know if you've read the whole series, you're going to be like, oh my God, Kim, like, you said the thing that's been said 10,000 times, but cannot stress how important that is. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you want to open this door that you have no idea where it leads? It doesn't even fit in with reality in terms of like a door appearing out of nowhere in the middle of the road, a door appearing nowhere in the middle of a tree. Like, it doesn't make sense. Where would that lead? A door appearing in a trunk? Like, so when they ask you, be sure, crazy. Like, would you open this door? When you say anything is better than here, do you really mean it? Do you really mean it? The book that I love so far out of all 7 books I've read, we follow a girl and she goes through her door. She goes to a place called the Goblin Market. Imagine every fantasy novel you've ever read, and there's a market. There's a market in every fantasy novel, okay? There's people gotta buy food somewhere. So imagine that, right? So we have goblins, we have mythical creatures, just like, it's just magical. But there's rules to this world. And one of the rules, or I guess one of the biggest rules, is fair value, fair trade. So, like how we here where we live now, that would be exchange rate with money, right? But they don't just exchange things with money, even their time. So, if I promise you, like, oh, hey, can you help me out in the backyard? I would have to return whatever is equivalent value to that person. I owe them back. You have to be careful what you ask for in this world. And there are consequences. There are consequences. There are consequences when you're not able to pay off your debts. That's all I'm going to lead off. I'm sorry, this is like so long-winded. I'm having a blast. Oh, this is going to be a long video, y'all. This is going to be long. I'm so sorry. I hope y'all are like drinking and eating and snacking while watching this. Okay, the next question. What is a new release you haven't read yet but want to? Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit for this question because the obvious answer is everything, right? At one point in time, these books were new releases. I just didn't get to them yet. So I'm going to cheat a little bit for this question. One, the biggest thing, I want to be very realistic with this list. I want to be choosing books that I want to prioritize over everything. So I'm going to split this list by books I already own that are new to me, books that I'm in line for my library hold, and books that are coming later this year. Literally the question itself. I know I can't just answer the freaking question, but I want to highlight more books. These are books that I'm probably going to get to. And at least with the books that are coming later this year, if I don't read them, I know these are books that I'm so excited that I'm going to buy them on release day. There's no reason to be buying it on release day unless you're that excited, and I did that with Unicorn Hunter, and that ended up being an amazing book for me. I may not go into a full synopsis for each book because I am going to read these books soon, and I do not want to spoil it for myself. What I'm going into, I love, love, love going into books super blind, and I'm not going to read it out loud just for the video, just for y'all to know. All right. Just know that I'm very excited, and I did know the synopsis once upon a time. One of them being a graphic novel called Josephina, author Russell L. Molina, and illustrator A.C. Enriquez. And apparently this one won National Book Awards. This was referenced a lot, and this has been on my list for a very long time. And the fact that I ran into this at a book fest in the Bay Area, there was like a Filipino booth and they had this graphic novel, and I was like, yes, yes. But it's very short in the back, so I will read that to you. It's like literally just a sentence. At a time when humans became monsters, a monster showed her humanity. That's all I need to know, and that's on the list. And the next one, because I've heard this was a very popular book on BookTube. It was trending for a little bit, I think like last year, and it was known for its flowery writing. That's all I want to know about it as well. And it's called The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, also a Filipino author. Both Filipino authors. I'm trying to read more through my backlog of Filipino authors just so I can be able to have conversations with people about them and how excited I am for them. Here's the book. It's been a minute since I've read something with very flowery writing, and I've only heard great things about this one. So yeah, a book I really want to get to this year. So you might be a little excited for this. One of the library books I'm looking forward to reading is called Shield of Sparrows. Yep, first book by Devney Perry. So the audible for this one. We'll see, fam. We'll see. I'm trying to find an author that I like for romantasy. And if I like them, I want to stick with them. I don't want to knock it completely off of like, I cannot read this at all type genre, you know? Like I've heard only great things about this one. I want to try it. Yeah, Shield of Sparrows. And then we also have one I want to do in tandem read. I own the physical, and I've heard certain things about the audio, but I'm in line. That one's the longest line I'm in right now, but I want to give this one a shot. It's called The Red Winter by Cameron Sullivan. I know, library books are the place where I'm more willing to give a chance on those very, very big popular books that I normally wouldn't even go towards because they don't fit my style or like the stuff I like to read. But that one, looking forward. I'm almost up. Actually, no, I'm not almost up. I think I'm still like 2 months away from my library hold for the audio. I want to do it together. So I'm just going to wait. There's so many other books I can read in the middle. And the last one is that I'm lined for the audio is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I think I pronounced your last name wrong. I've heard hella great things about this book, but the funny thing is, at time of recording this book, my library hold for one of the audio for his book called Black Tongue Thief. I got a notification for it. And so I'm actually going to read this one before that because now it's time. My library said it's time for you to read it, and I will probably read this first before that one. So that goes for like library books with audio and tandem reading that I'm looking forward to. And then the last part of this question, the actual straightforward answer to this question. 2 specific books that I'm looking forward to reading that are literally coming out later this year. I think in August. Oh no, I have the dates. Just kidding. It's in September. I have the dates. One of them is Black Tail by Scott Hawkins. Release date September 1st, 2026. Genres. I'm not gonna read the synopsis. I'm just gonna tell you the genre. I just know I'm so excited for this one. Genres is dark, fantasy, and horror. If you don't know this author, one of his books was also trending on BookTube that I've also read and mentioned on this channel. It is called The Library at Mount Char. And that book was probably, still to this date, the most gruesome, most uncomfortable book I've ever read, and probably the one with the worst animal abuse in it. The one that I just didn't, that's probably the biggest thing I didn't enjoy about that book, was that takes like top tier. And normally for books, I don't get triggered, I know how to separate myself in terms of like the trigger warnings when it comes to most of the books I read are fiction. So with the fiction books, I definitely know how to separate myself from all the trigger warnings. That one, when I was logging it on my Excel sheet, I didn't realize how many trigger warnings that one had, because I have a trigger warning section and that one was just filled with the worst type of trigger warnings. That being said, I still had like the craziest time with that book, and I'm not sure if it's a minority or not, but I enjoyed the ending. I thought it ended on a perfect note, and so, or as good as it can get for such a batshit crazy book. So the book he's coming out, God knows what it's gonna be about, but I'm definitely want to go read it because I'm not sure if it's going to be on par with the Library of Mount Char. And I feel like I'd be afraid, if I was him, I would be afraid to even like think that people are going to try and compare them both. And the last one, also coming out in September, is Maisie Wood by Tiana Reeve Dew. Release date September 26, 2026. Genre, it's historical fiction, horror, thriller, and mystery. I have not read her novels. I have read her short stories that were in the anthology. Like I said, perfect way to get exposure to multiple authors, just a little taste of them. I'm also extremely, extremely biased because I did get to see her live. I went to an author event at the Book Fest, got tickets, got to see her live, got to see her answer questions, get to know her personality. She's freaking amazing in person, by the way. Like, she's a true horror fan. Her and Stephen Graham Jones. I had my book, The Reformatory. I'm sad that I didn't get a hard copy now because now it's signed. For both of them, because I had the paperback and I wasn't going to buy it again. So I was like, listen, this is the copy I have. You're signing this one. So I also have The Reformatory signed. So I'm just super biased because I love, after seeing her, meeting her, talking to her in person, even though it was very short conversation, I'ma just love everything she writes. I'll be so biased. That's me with Stephen Graham Jones now I'm just gonna be super biased because I enjoyed listening to him talk in his interview and just him as a person. So I was just like, okay. So Maisie Wood is one of the ones I definitely want to get immediately from release date. Okay, next question. What is the most anticipated book for the second half of the year? Slightly different from the list I gave you. The way I answered the last question does sound very similar to this one, but this one is a different set of books because I feel like I have to finish them just because of my memory. That being the third book, the final book in the series, the 5 Penalty series by Marina Lostetter, The Teeth of Dawn. And then last, because the movie's coming out, The Hunger Games. The rest of the Hunger Games series because I want to be up to date and watch the movie alongside it. I also am making a vlog for this, so another push, honestly, for that. But The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Mockingjay, Catching Fire, and is it Sunrise of the Reaping for the last one? I want to get through those this year. Like, that will be done by this year. Screw the other list I gave you earlier, okay? Even though I'm like, I want to be realistic. This list I told you right now, these 4 books, that is the priority, no matter how I feel. Okay, next question, probably my least favorite question out of this whole tag. What is the worst book you've read so far in 2026? It's going to be The Exiles, a novel by Mason Coley. I believe that is a pseudonym. That's what the back says, for Andrew Piper. This is a very short book, so I don't want to say too much, but to get the general gist, it is a space mission to Mars, and we want to colonize Mars, I believe. We want to start colonizing Mars, essentially. Where we are in our journey for taking over Mars, we already had robots go there first in order to set up our campsite and make sure it's suitable for us to breathe and stuff. And so once that was built, it was time for us to depart. So we have 3 astronauts, and those 3 astronauts get to Mars. But something happens. Something very questionable happens where they have to set out and investigate what is going on. I don't want to say too much because it literally will give it away. But this is a horror book, okay? This is a space horror, and that's why I got it, because it sounded so freaking interesting to me. And I was, again, I don't mind shorter stories. I love fleshed out ones, but like, I love the short ones too, right? And so I wanted to read like a space horror novel. I was like, sure, why not? I'll give it a chance. The main thing I was like upset about this book was really like our astronauts. I just cannot believe having our astronauts act the way they do. And I put more pressure on the captain. I just could not imagine like the captain of a space crew acting the way, or talking or speaking to other people and robots the way he spoke. Maybe it was to further the narrative, which I am assuming it is, because like ain't no way. Right? Even if it's to further the narrative, I still did not have like a great time. I was like, all right, dude, stop being a dick. But again, I guess that was the point. But it was just like annoying to read, I guess. Not even annoying, just like very bothersome. I think it's also the timing, you know, like I didn't just read it. Like Project Hail Mary was much earlier in the year, but I have a top book of the year so far being a space novel. This is the year of the Artemis mission. So we had four. It was four, right? We had these four amazing astronauts go into space. We sent a woman to space on top of that. Like, this is the year of space greatness. Okay. Space greatness. I just have like high expectations. I do not care for things to be scientifically accurate, and if there's some plot holes, I can live with that too. But like the way our characters are, them being astronauts at that, it just kind of like pissed me off. It just made me a little bit sad, but I will give its flowers for creating a very eerie environment. It was super fast. This book was hella fast to read, y'all. It wasn't fast for the sake of me wanting to just get through it. I did not have those feelings at all reading this book. It was literally just fast. Like, it was such an easy read. I will give it that. And the horror and the creepiness, even though I was a little confused what was going on towards the end, but it's fine. Like, and the little bit of mystery that it was having, like, I'm happy that I was correct with where this book was going. That was very validating in my head while I was reading during my experience. But yeah, I'm gonna keep it for a little bit. I will probably give this book away. This book did make me crave for a Mars mission type book, and so I actually made the plunge. I wasn't planning to read this book. I probably won't read it this year, but I made the plunge and I got myself The Martian by Andy Wheeler. I've heard certain things about it. I've already watched the movie, y'all. I already watched the movie. So honestly, in terms of what I'm looking forward to in this book is just the science. I hope there's a lot of science talk. That's what gets me. That's what gets me, is the science talk. Next question. What is the biggest surprise of the year so far? All right. Hear me out with this book, all right? That book easily is going to be Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. Also, this is a special edition from the Broken Binding. So this book was one of those surprises we got for being Broken Binding sci-fi subscribers. I think this was a sci-fi box. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, one, it was a surprise, so I didn't choose this book, okay? Second, I was like, okay, well, look at the cover. It looks like such a, no offense, this is gonna come off so wrong, but it looks like such a bro book. It looks like a book for men kind of books. That's coming off wrong, but I hope you know what I mean. Like, it just looks like robots and war, and I just didn't want to read a book just about robots and war. I wanted a little bit more to it, right? That was my first initial impression. So that's why I got the audiobook, because I knew I was going to donate this book. I want to read my Broken Binding books first before I donate them if I don't like them, right? To my surprise, I actually really like this book, and I think it might have been the timing as well. I know it's probably the timing as well. This is the very first book I've ever read from Matt Dinniman. If you recognize the author's name, you probably might have associated him to his most popular books, which is the Dungeon Crawl books. Oh my god, is that what it's called? Anyways, I haven't read those books yet. I don't really plan on reading those books, to be honest. I know it's popular. I know it is. And as a fellow gamer myself, I feel like I should gravitate towards lit RPG, especially since I play those games, type books, just to get the humor. But the thing is, they came out with a graphic version of the book, and I think I prefer to consume it more like that. So I actually own it. Yeah, see, I actually own it. And I think I want to own the volumes over the books. His books are huge. Yo, his books are massive, so I just rather have it as a graphic novel version, to be honest. But anyways, back to the book. This is a standalone, and this is my first exposure to his writing, and I was shocked. I was shocked of the amount of things we're talking about and the coverage in terms of themes and topics. It wasn't until I read it, and primarily because of who our characters were, and also the high political tension that was happening here in the United States and what has happened in the past on top of that, when it comes to the things we have done to the indigenous people of the land, and how the lengths we will go in order to relocate them or get rid of them or incite war in order to move them out and have the land for ourselves. This being a story essentially about like immigrants who, yes, they were sent to this planet, this unknown planet. So they weren't originally from here first. They're not like some aliens or anything, right? Like they were Earthers, but they were sent to this planet in order to test the living conditions over time in order for the rest of Earth to colonize this planet, essentially, right? But how they're going about it and how they want to be like, okay, is it like now it's time for us to come over? It just ends up being this whole thing. Like maybe it's because I'm tying it to like what we've went through here in the United States. I read this during the time all over the news they were talking about like mass deportation, like taking everybody and anyone, like even right now, even at my school, we have signs saying like ICE is not allowed to be on here, just stuff like that. Like I was reading this book during that time, and it just hella, like to me, just hella tied into that, and we also get a little bit of themes of like AI because we do have robots, and so you have a little bit of that conversation going on, and I was just mind blown. I thought this was not going to go as deep. I took it that deep, I took it more that direction, and I took it that deep. Our characters are very interesting. I know some people are probably put off by some of them. To me, it was just like, okay, it's already like a really quirky book, so it's like, okay, interesting. The part I just want to highlight the most is just like colonization, and like what it takes and how we treat the people that were originally here. And for our people, they were sent there for a purpose, but like a pretty messed up one. They were practically sacrifices, right? If you're going to be the first one, you're practically a sacrifice for the greater good, for the rest of the population. And so yeah, the robots were very interesting. They have a personality of their own. I'm a sucker for robot stories. Yeah, this book, Operation Bounce House, it went from a book that I was going to donate to a book that I'm going to keep and write all over. So, with my thoughts, I want to reread it and put more thorough of my annotations in it. I recommended this book to my friend, and she's more critical than me, and so I cannot wait for her review for this book because I saw it on her shelves. But yeah, I cannot wait for her review for this book. We don't all have to like the same books. It's fine, fam. We don't all have to like the same books, but that was just a general surprise to me. Moving on, we have, what is the book that made you cry so far this year? I cry very easily. I cry in almost any book that has like a sad part, but if we were going to give the holy grail to the book that I was like boo-hooing, and boo-hooing again in the theaters, it's gonna be Project Hail Mary. I was crying. Literally, like if I had to go back to even the ending, I was crying. I was so much crying. And I already spoke about this book a lot in the beginning of the video, so I won't say anything more. This takes the cake. All right, next question. Who's your favorite new author, new to you or debut? I have 2 new authors this year to me, and that is going to be Joanna Van Veen, the author who wrote Blood on Her Tongue. I enjoyed the heck out of this. I also enjoyed the audiobook to this. This book had a little bit of horror, gothic, vampires, fantasy, and a little bit of like queerness in it. Not even a little bit. Like definitely towards the end. Okay, anyways. I freaking love that part. Don't get me wrong. Like I like me a little bit. I was just shocked. A lot of the books I read have a lot of trigger warnings, especially if the book has themes of being dark and gothic and horror. Uh, look up your trigger warnings for this book. But I enjoyed my time reading this one. This one's about twin sisters, and I'm a sucker for sibling relationships in terms of like whether the strengths or the weaknesses of I'm out of 3 siblings, so I'm just gravitate towards anything that shows that type of relationship. I was supposed to be a twin, but she didn't make it, and so I always fantasize what would life be if my twin survived and if I had a twin. And so love Blood on Her Tongue so much that I actually recently purchased her other book that came out this year. I have her new release already in my possession, and it's called Bone of My Bone, and that one is also horror, fantasy, and historical fiction. And more queerness and lesbians involved. Okay. I know I'm gonna have a great time. She's one of the new authors. I enjoy. And another one that I recently just finished in July, it's called Shift by Cho Yoon, translated by Yoon Jung. So sorry I butchered the hell out of that. But it is called Shift. Tell me why it took me until the middle of the book to realize like there's 2 people on the cover. Tell me why. I didn't even realize there were people on the cover. I thought it was just like an ocean. But now I can add this author to the list of works. I actually already have their other book that they've written. I think it's called like The Jelly Massacre. It's behind me, where if you see where my dog and the girl over there is, yeah, it's behind me. I think all my Hanford and Star books are there. I love this publisher. This is their newer release. This came out this year. So the fact that I read their new release before the other book, but it's fine. I'm proud to say I have more authors to have as my favorites that I enjoyed. And huge shout out to the translator as well, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to read the book. Next question. We have... Ooh, this one's fun. I already knew this was gonna be it. What is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? And so, like I said prior, I am a Broken Binding sub, and so I get very pretty books sent to me every month. And so far, I mean, at time of recording this, I know we just got the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwen, and those are gorgeous books. Don't get me wrong. But the books I cannot stop like holding in my hands and thinking about, probably the Drowning Empire series by Andrea Stewart. Let me pull them out for you. Those books in general are just so freaking gorgeous. And so they're the reason why I want to read the book, is because how beautiful they are. And the artwork inside. I know I didn't show it to you all. This video is already really long, so I can't show you every little detail, but just know that's my most gorgeous edition that I've gotten so far this year. Special editions aside, I do want to highlight a standard cover edition, because I don't think you have to be a special edition to be very pretty. I think there's a crap ton of books that I own that I love their covers for. And one of them, I keep bringing this book up, I feel like, in multiple videos, but it is The Unicorn Hunter by Catherine Arden. I think it's gorgeous. This is just a standard cover. And another one real quick I want to realize I didn't have in my possession. Another one that is in paperback that I had to hunt everywhere in order to find the physical copy for, and that is Watercolors by Evelyn Latrice. Y'all, I was looking everywhere for a physical copy of this. It is available electronically, but I wanted to annotate the crap out of this book. I've heard really great things about this one, but the cover is gorgeous. I just love the cover. Look at her again. Just look at her. Believe it or not, I used to watercolor a lot. Anyways, those are the beautiful books that I have purchased this year. We're almost to the end, y'all. Stay with me. We're almost to the end. Okay, next question. Any upcoming videos you're excited to make? So there's two very specific videos. Unfortunately, these videos that I'm very excited for take a long time to film. One of them is going to be the Hunger Games. Reading the whole Hunger Games series. That was one of the videos I wanted to make last year but didn't get to, and that's why I'm trying to be very realistic with this list, because I actually want to hit these goals. I want to hit some of them. If I don't, but I actually do want to, like, I don't know, I just want to be very real with this list. And so I'm already in the middle of that, and since I have a goal date before the movie comes out, or while the movie is still in theaters, that one is going to be more realistic for me to finish. And the second one is going to be the Odyssey. That one should be first because I am in the middle of reading that book. The movie is technically out now, but we don't watch it in theaters until 2 weeks from now. So I'm trying to avoid all the content that people are like posting about it. Like, to me, it's spoilers. Okay, to me, it's spoilers. I know people are like, how are you going to be spoiled from a 1,000-year-old story? I didn't read the story. You probably read the story and it was new to you, but I didn't, okay? And I know it's referenced a lot about Odysseus and stuff, but still, I wasn't paying attention. And now I am paying attention. And so I just trying to avoid spoilers, which is silly to say, I know, but well, yeah. And then one last one. This is whenever I'm in the middle of summer school, but fall semester is coming around the corner already. I want to make a video. These are my favorite to watch, so I really want to make it. How much I realistically read in a week as a full-time student for scientists and having a part-time job. So how much I realistically read doing all that. It's gonna be so real. You honestly just might see me studying and like reading an hour a night and that's it, you know, like definitely with my classes next semester, Jesus, it's like 3 labs. Anyways, those are the videos I'm excited for. And last, we're finally here at the very end. Last question. Any channel goals by the end of the year? Very straightforward answer I got for you, okay? And that is literally just posts. Stop having this habit of filming videos, uploading the videos to my hard drive, editing the videos on my program, which I've officially switched to DaVinci Resolve, by the way. You didn't need to know that, but I've officially switched, so it's a learning curve a little bit. And then not uploading the damn video. I have done all that work, I've set all that time, and I just did not upload the video, or I didn't finish editing to a T to my standard or whatever of the video. I just need to stop that habit and just post, because you never know what's gonna do well on YouTube. And definitely if I'm doing this for fun, as I clearly am because I have so much other things going on, this is definitely just a hobby right now with reading alongside it. I just need to post, and I just got to accept that not everything's gonna be like cinematic banger, okay? I'm very vlog style, chill style type content person that I'm aiming to be, where it's a little bit lower stakes. And the fact that even with those low stakes that I'm having a hard time, I just, you know, I gotta change that habit. I honestly just want to see if I could just keep this up, and that's it. That's the goal. That's the goal. And that, friends, is my 2026 mid-year freakout tag. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please. I'm not gonna beg, but please give it a like if you like it. If you had read any of the books I brought up, please let me know in the comments down below, regardless of your opinion of it or not, whether you like the books or you dislike the books that I, you know, hyped up so much. Let me know, or just your reading experience with some of the books. Let me know. I'm very curious. These are books, I'm looking at them and I'm very happy. I had a very good reading half year. I even included a lot of July's reads in here, so I've been having a great time. If you made it towards the end, feel free to like and subscribe to see more whenever that is. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.